That's what I'm talking about. Bears win 20-9 over the Las Vegas Raiders. This was a huge team win in a game that we didn't think we were going to see for another 2 years when the Raiders would come to Soldier Field, which that game is actually absolutely happening. This one was still up in the air because we didn't even have 17 games. This was our added extra game on the schedule, the 17th game, if you will, where we play a random team from the AFC, not the team that you played this year or the team you played next year or the division you played last year. So you only have one division left, the division you played 2 years ago or 2 years from now, which in our case is the AFC West. So we finished in second last year. The Raiders finished second in the AFC West. We matched up, and the NFL just was like, hey, all of the AFC teams will get the home game. We'll get the home field advantage for these games, and it'll flip-flop every single year. So next year, the Bears will host a game against a team from the AFC South. Enough of that. I'm pretty sure you know how it works. Last time we played the Raiders wasn't even in Oakland. So we weren't even there to play the Raiders in their last season in Oakland. We went to London to play the Raiders, where the Bears looked terrible in the first half with Chase Daniel as the helm because Trubisky got injured to the hands of the Vikings again. And they miraculously had a fantastic third quarter. Looked like they were going to win the game, but just couldn't finish it out as Josh Jacobs ended our hopes. One of the 2 picks that the Raiders that we traded to the Raiders for Khalil Mack. So Khalil Mack making his real return to Raider Nation, not in Oakland, but in Las Vegas. This game's was a bit interesting because the offense actually relied a lot on the running game with no Montgomery, who, by the way, although the injury didn't seem that bad, it looked bad, but then people kept downplaying it. There was a lot of talk. He's on the IR now. That's great. So no Montgomery for this week, next week, probably against Tampa, and probably until the bye week. I don't know how long it'll take. If he can come back before the bye week, that'd be awesome. So Williams and Khalil Herbert get the carries in this one. Now, the first quarter, I didn't really get too much information on. All I know is that it was scoreless for the first half of the first quarter, and there really wasn't much action going on. Looked like we both punted. Bears got the ball first. I don't know how, I wasn't paying attention because in the morning slate with finishing up, it was nuts this week, especially the game in Cincinnati between the Packers and the Bengals. With that game having 5 straight missed field goals, 3 by Mason Crosby and 2 by Evan McPherson, both of which, or one of them he doinked, which was a 57-yarder, and the other one he basically grazed the flag at the top of the post. Mason Crosby finally put an end to the game with a 49-yarder. And man, was I just so upset seeing the end of that game. It was insane how both teams tried to hand each other the win. Both teams tried to lose the game, and the Bengals ended up losing. Tough loss for them. They've got Detroit next week, so that's a get-right game for the Bengals. But we all know the Packers are playing next. So yeah, that's how I spent the majority of the first quarter, watching myself go nuts, rooting for Cincinnati to beat Green Bay, which they almost did. So as I'm watching and actually switching over to watch the game, the Raiders start driving. Oh no. They get in the red zone. Oh no. But this defense is really good, notorious for holding teams to field goals, not touchdowns. And the Raiders shot themselves in their own foot here, especially in the first quarter with this drive. They had a couple holding calls that backed them up, and Daniel Carlson boots a 31-yarder. Raiders lead 3-0. It proved to be the only lead they would have all game. So the ensuing Bears drive takes us into the second quarter. And you know what? The Bears offense looks pretty dang good on this drive. So on a drive that was backed by Damian Williams, on 2nd and goal, Justin Herbert rolls back, looks to throw. He throws into the end zone, and the pass is caught for Justin Fields' first NFL touchdown pass in the regular season, which basically means that it's the first touchdown pass that he throws that actually matters. And fitting enough, it is to Jesper Horsted. You know what? I'm happy for him. He had that great catch against the Lions in 2019 on Thanksgiving. And outside of that, he's been a pretty good player in the preseason, but he's never been able to get that big roster spot and that big role-playing spot in the tight end position because we got Graham, Komet. We also have J.P. Holtz and Jesse James, who are both inactive for this game. We are stacked at the tight end position. Not J.P. Holtz. Jesper Horsted gets the catch, and he was the one who had the 3 touchdown game against the Titans in the preseason. So Fields fittingly had his first touchdown pass to the man that he was throwing to all day during the preseason. I think it's a fitting first touchdown pass for Justin Fields, especially since these last 2 weeks he's been juggling. Well, the Bears offense couldn't do anything against the Browns, and then they did something against the Lions, but all the touchdowns that we had were rushing touchdowns. And we're just coming into this game like, okay, is Justin Fields finally going to throw for a touchdown, or are we just going to get close to the goal line again and then just punch it in through running play? The answer is no. We did get close again. We could have totally pounded it in, but the run was not really working against this Raiders defense in the red zone. So he went to the air and was able to hook up with Horsted. It's 7-3 Bears. On the Raiders, 30? Yeah. On the Raiders' ensuing drive, they have a nice drive going. They get inside the Bears' 30, and they go for it on third down. Carr tries to run it. Roquan Smith's there and able to make the great tackle. So it's 4th and 1. And John Gruden makes a very interesting play call and goes for it instead of taking the points. Gives it to Josh Jacobs, and he is just met with a swarm of white jerseys. He is stuffed. Bears get another huge 4th down stop. On the next Bears drive, they're methodically driving it down. They're into Raiders territory. When all of a sudden on 1st and 10, Justin Fields tries to escape a sack from Yannick Ngakoue. He doesn't. He will get sacked on this play. But he hobbles to the sideline, and then you see the replay, and it's his left leg, you can see looking very just out of place, and you can tell it's not good for Justin Fields here. He goes to the medical tent, and so out comes Andy Dalton. He's back in the starting lineup. What a weird year this has been. Dalton was declared the starter. Now he's not the starter, and now he's back in as a backup, and he gets... The Bears QB carousel has been crazy, that's for sure. But the one thing that we all know that will stay consistent, Nick Foles has not played a single snap this year, and I don't know if he will. Which is honestly weird to say that a Super Bowl MVP is a third-string quarterback. So Dalton comes in. I don't know. They did fine. He completed a pass on a 3rd down to Marquise Goodwin for a 1st down. Andy Dalton has a completion in Allegiant Stadium. And then all of a sudden, after that play is over, you see Fields on the sideline, and then he comes back in. He was only out for a few plays. It was unbelievable how Fields just looked like he may have been out for the rest of the game, and then is coming back in less than 5 plays after the fact. The determination, the grit, the strength, the toughness really showing for Fields there, as he's shown this kind of determination and toughness throughout the season so far. And so the Bears offense does what the Bears offense does. They methodically drive down the field, and they score a touchdown. Damian Williams gets the short run in, and it's 14-3, and that's how the first half comes to a close. So it seems like the roles have been flipped. The Bears aren't really looking that flashy on offense, but they're able to put in the scores. And that makes it 14-3. But the Raiders' offense has looked really, really pedestrian bad throughout this first half. They had a failed 4th down conversion. They were really honestly looking like some of the way the Bears' offense played in the first game against the Rams and against Cleveland even. They just weren't able to get anything going, and if anything was going to change, it was going to be halftime and getting the ball to start the second half. So, the second half, on the first drive, Derek Carr on a 3rd and 2, rolling out, seems like he's running out of space, and he floats a perfect ball, 40, almost 50 yards down the field to a wide open Bryan Edwards, who was behind the defense, who drops the ball as it hits him right here, right above the numbers, and he drops it, and the drive ends. I mean, you can't ask for a better way to swing momentum your way than a big pass play like that. And when you drop it like that, it keeps the momentum in the other team's favor, especially on a third down. That was a terrible drop by Bryan Edwards, a crucial drop, and it really kept the Raiders from changing the flow of the game. So the Bears punt. And on the Raiders' ensuing drive, Derek Carr, he looks, he throws, and it's picked off deep on a deep throw on another third down play looking for Zay Jones. DeAndre Houston-Carson, the same man who basically made 2 huge plays to win us games early last season, comes up to get the big interception here, and the Bears get the ball back. Well, too bad because the offenses for both teams couldn't do anything in this third quarter. Punts galore throughout the entire quarter, and the Raiders got it back with about 2 minutes to go in the third quarter, and that started an 8-minute drive. Derek Carr, after being down, it kind of looks like he was winded, dazed almost. He's able to get up and run off on his own power. But you know what this means. The glorious return of the GOAT, Nathan Peterman. Nathan freaking Peterman gets some action in this one. He runs a couple plays, kind of exactly like Dalton did. Ran a couple plays, ran a series. And he even converted a QB sneak on a fourth down, which Nagy did challenge, which was a pretty valid challenge, even though he lost. Didn't obviously matter in the long run. But Peterman came in for a couple plays before Carr was able to basically have the same toughness that Fields did and comes back out onto the field. And so they drive down, and after some methodical and long... So they continue to drive downfield, and after a long drive that took over 8 minutes, going back to the third quarter, Josh Jacobs on first and goal leaps over the entire pile and just is barely able to break the plane for the touchdown. Eddie Jackson looked like he came away with it. He knocked it loose, but just a little bit too late. And Josh Jacobs gets the score. So now the Raiders are down 5. They need to go for 2 to make it a 3-point game. And guess what happens on that 2-point conversion attempt? It's Khalil Mack sacking Derek Carr again. And he stops the 2-point conversion from being successful. It's 14-9. They need another touchdown. But I mean, that drive took 8 minutes. Over half of a quarter. We can't let them have enough time to pull off another drive like that and basically run the clock out, especially considering our offense. Obviously, the radars and the heart rate started to increase. But that doesn't mean anything anymore because the Bears drive down the field and Santos is able to kick a 46-yard field goal. He now holds the longest active streak of consecutive field goals made. It's 17-9. It's an 8-point game. The Raiders get it back with just about 3 minutes to go. So the Raiders end up going not only 3 and out, but they fail a fourth down conversion that they needed to get. And the Bears just kind of run out the clock. Santos gets another 46-yarder with under a minute to go. And I think that's 34 straight field goals for Cairo Santos, the longest active streak in the league. Who knew that Santos would be the kicker to hold the longest active streak in the league? I couldn't tell you that it was going to be him at any point. Bears win. That's all that needs to be said. 20-9. Bears only score 6 points in the second half, but that was all they needed to score because their defense did all the work. Fields again didn't have to throw much. Was 12 for 20, 111 yards, and his first career touchdown. This game's leading rusher was not Damian Williams. It was Khalil Herbert. He ran for 75 yards on 18 carries, which is a pretty good game, especially considering a 5th-round pick hadn't really gotten much attention until Montgomery got hurt. He had a great day, an impressive day. I don't know what it is with pace, but I'll give him credit for finding great running backs in the draft. He just seems to hit on every running back he drafts. Vegas actually outgained Chicago 259 to 252, so a very even game in terms of offense. Neither team really did astronomically well when it came to offense, just over 500 yards total offense between both teams. And that's embarrassing considering how the other game on CBS in the afternoon block was Cleveland and LA, and that had over 1,000 yards combined and over, I think, 90 points, about 90 points scored in that game. One thing that helped the lack of offensive production in this game was penalties. 18 penalties for both teams. 10 for Vegas, 8 for Chicago. 2 of those penalties were unnecessary roughness calls on Mario Edwards Jr., who had some pretty bad plays. First off, after the 4th down stop, he got into a skirmish with another Raiders player, and he got called for unnecessary roughness. That brought the Bears back quite a bit. Didn't really matter much. We ended up scoring on the drive anyways. But again, there was another play where Bears looked like they had to stop. And they were going to tackle Josh Jacobs for a loss. And the whistles had blown. And then Mario Edwards decides to throw Josh Jacobs down. And that's going to be called every single time for unnecessary roughness call. He's going to have to live that one down by the coaches all week long. I don't doubt it. That was a very stupid play by him. Shouldn't be doing that again. Another thing about the defense, 3 sacks. The one that Mac had during the 2-point conversion apparently didn't transfer over to the stat sheet. I don't know how that gets counted. But it doesn't, I don't know if it counts on the score sheet. I don't think it did. So Mac, and then Tashawn and Trevis Gibson both got sacks. Both of the Gibsons. I mean, a solid team win all around. The team played great. And I am actually very impressed with the adjustments this team made after their horrific game against Cleveland. So looking forward, we all know what we have to do. We all know what's next. One of the biggest games on the schedule, regardless of how good or bad we are and how good or bad they are. It's always one of the highlights of the schedule, one of those that you circle on the calendar. That's right, I'm talking about the Green Bay Packers. Now, last year, we didn't have to deal with Green Bay until after our bye week, where we got slaughtered on Sunday Night Football. We all know how that worked out, and then the late game, I don't really need to talk about those. But they're coming back to Chicago. This is the game next week. It's an early slate game, which is honestly a bit weird because the NFL really likes to put these games in prime slots regardless of how good or bad the teams are. It's kind of like Dallas and Philadelphia always getting a Sunday Night Football slot, although no one wants it anymore. But it's good for profits, so we'll keep putting it on there. If this team keeps playing how they did the last 2 weeks, and they only get better, that would be a very good game for Sunday Night Football because usually I always look at those games that why do they keep putting the game at Lambeau in primetime slots, regardless of Sunday night, Monday night, Thursday night, regardless? Always in primetime slots, even though we're garbage and they kill us every single time. So with how the Bengals were that close to beating them, this game is actually within reach. This is my problem. I'm getting my hopes up for Green Bay. Especially in the last 10 years, that is a cardinal sin. You can't do that because all you're going to do is get your hopes crushed and your dreams crushed yet again for the umpteenth time. So Bears, I beg of you, please do everything you can to beat Green Bay. That's it for this one. Thank you so much for tuning in. Hit the like button if you like this video. Hit that subscribe button if you want to see the rest of the season and how it'll run out, especially next week as we got Green Bay. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care.